What's up, guys? Coach David here, your host of the Beyond the Athlete podcast. And yeah, this is another episode with myself. Thank you to everyone for watching and tuning into all our episodes so far, the last 27 that we've done. And trust me, guys, like there's so many new episodes, amazing guests that are coming up in the next few weeks as well. But I thought maybe this week, let me use it to kind of share with you guys my thoughts, what's been happening and what's to come. And just have a conversation with you guys because I know the last time we were able to do that was quite a few episodes away. And I know some of you guys have reached out and kind of given us feedback, which is great. And we'll continue to actually take those feedbacks and continue to improve our episodes as well and the content we put out. But before we actually get into the conversation, I do want you guys to actually, first of all, I just want to say also thank you for all of you guys who have subscribed to our channel and all of you guys who also follow us on social media. But if you haven't subscribed or liked or sent or commented on any of our episodes, please do so. Let us hear from you. Let us connect with you. Your feedback is so important for the growth of what we want to do, not just for ourselves, but for you guys as well. But yeah, for me, I would say that this last few weeks have been quite interesting. And it's been quite interesting because I've been having quite a lot of thoughts. And there are times where things are up and down as well. And I thought to myself, actually, no, one of my brothers actually said to me, oh, maybe share like certain things that you've gone through, and how, not really how you overcame it, but just to kind of let people see the realness behind your story and kind of could help someone, or it's something that needs to be heard. Maybe in the past, maybe it wasn't that important, but maybe now it is for someone. But actually, before I even start that as well, I just want to plug in a podcast that's been quite interesting for me. Watching this, my brother actually started this podcast recently, and it's been doing really well. And it's a fashion podcast for all of you creatives out there that actually watch our episodes, and it's under his brand called Fashion Forward, which is pretty much not just a podcast platform, but everything to do with fashion, from education to events, really trying to grow that community of people within the fashion and creative space and support them in reaching greatness, basically, which is kind of what we do in the sports space as well. So Fashion Forward, if you go onto their Instagram page as well as their YouTube page, you can actually watch their podcast, hosted by Casey Bishop. And yeah, like, trust me, guys, you enjoy that. If you're into fashion, or if you're not even into fashion, you listen to a lot of amazing tastemakers. Some of these guys that you won't even know exist, that are doing some amazing things and really shaping the world of fashion as we know it. So yeah, tap in there. The link will be put in the description as well. And then it will also be on the screen as well for you guys to search it and subscribe to his channel and really engage with his content as well. But going back to what I was saying, so when I was growing up, so I came to the UK first of all in the year 2000, and before we actually came, I was living in Nigeria, and got to a point where I was 11, 12. It got to a point where we were really struggling in Nigeria, and a lot of things weren't really going well. My dad had lost his job. My mom was still kind of still had clients within the fashion space. So I actually come from a fashion background. Both mom and dad were both designers in Nigeria. My mom still designs now. And one of my sisters is into fashion. My other sister is into interior design. And then the youngest one, the one after me, she's into beauty. And then the youngest one is a medical student. So we all have different things that we do, but there's still some sort of creativity around us as well. By the way, I use my hands a lot, so do apologize. I will try to refrain from using it too much. And yeah, and I know it was quite of a struggle. Obviously, I was out of school for about a year just because we needed to save money for us to actually move to the UK. And I don't know why that is always a thing where you move to the UK to get a better life, and then you have to go to a Catholic school and all that kind of stuff. It didn't make sense to me. But one thing I will always say that first, okay, when we moved to the UK, we ended up staying with my uncle for a bit before he moved with his family to Austria. His wife's Austrian. And we ended up staying in bed and breakfast, which is like in the UK is almost like a one room sort of like hostel or hotel, whatever you want to call it. And imagine there's my mum, one, and there's myself and four younger sisters. There's six of us in there. And I'm 12, so imagine how old the rest of the my siblings were. The youngest one was not even, I think she just turned one. Um, and yeah, it was crazy because we actually came when it was cold as well. So this was a new experience for us. Like we're thinking, what are we doing here? And long story short, we were in that sort of system, bed and breakfast, for a while. I think it was 2005 where we actually got our first place, and it was pretty much like a flat. It's a two-bed flat. So I had my own little room. Well, it's three-bed flat actually. I had my own little room. My sisters had their room, and then my mom had hers as well. But before that, we were always staying. We all lived in one room. And it was kind of crazy because imagine me being the only boy, and then my mom is female, my sister's female. It was like it was kind of crazy, and I always had this feeling, ever since I was younger, even in Nigeria, that I was always going to be great. But I never knew how. I never knew what it would be that would make me great. I just always had that feeling that I was meant to be something. Um, and it may sound cliche and sound weird to people, but that feeling never left me, even during the times when I kind of went through depression and I was like feeling lost and I was just making so many mistakes, and doing the wrong things and not really focusing, failed in my studies badly. And I'm not like dumb, I'm not stupid. I'm actually quite studious, but I just didn't focus enough. Um, but I always had that feeling that I was always going to be great. But I didn't know what was going to lead me to that. And for me, as I kept growing and kept doing different things, it's like I always had different ideas for things. Had an idea within fashion, idea within this, idea within that, but I never really. I always sometimes some of them I never really started, and some of them I started but never really kind of continued it or stayed consistent and ended up not finishing it. And I was just chasing the wrong things, trying to explore and be cool. Don't know what that means. And I think what changed for me is when I um, first came into the nation, SPAC Nation, and met Pastor Toby. And for me, that really changed a lot of things for me. But it took some time. It wasn't straight away. It took some time for myself anyway. Some people it happened straight away, but for me, it actually took me to about I came in 2014 and it took me to about 2018, 2019 to really realize like, okay, cool. Like I'm getting it now. Even if it's like 0.01%, I'm getting it now. But I also started to understand that it's not going to happen overnight, but I just need to keep going and stay the course. Um, and that really helped me as well a lot. And just his mentorship and his leadership, and just observing him as well, constantly observing him actually, really kind of shaped how my mind and how I my perspective on things. Um, and for me, I realized that greatness is not something that it's not cheap. It's not something that's easily attained. It's something that you almost have to kind of go through a process. So it made me realize that everything I had gone through from maybe in Nigeria, from even when I was born, my dad losing his job, all that kind of stuff, to now, um, led me to this point. So it almost kind of took that fear of failing away, or fear of being a disappointment away as well. Because I used to be like the most disappointing person ever. Most people are now, most probably still am now to an extent, but to be honest with you, like I actually don't care. And then the reason why I say that is because I remember even in sports, I'll be the last person to get picked. I was never the best athlete. I was never the best at anything. I was never the guy that the girls would want to talk to at first. Um, I was never the one that gets picked to lead certain things or to do certain things. I was always kind of like the last person for everything, really. And sometimes that kind of like made you feel a type of way. And if you feel down, you wanna be that person at the top. You want to be cool. And yeah, that kind of was a bit of a downer during those times. And I think sometimes when I think about those things, and I'm like, like that's quite interesting because even it got to a point where now it's like I actually don't care if I'm the first or the last to get picked. That doesn't mean anything to me. Um, what matters to me is being the one to really change people's lives and being the not even being the first or the last, but being the one to make impact. Impact can be the first, the last, the middle person. Doesn't really matter who that person is. I don't really care about getting picked last if it comes to sports. Obviously, now it's different because I actually improved over time in the sport that I play, which is basketball. But now I'm learning tennis. I'm not the best at it, but working towards being good at it. Um, but I had to come to that realization that, you know what, I just have to kind of really be me. And I realized that the platform that Pastor Toby had created within the family was a platform for people to really be themselves authentically, unapologetically to the highest possible extreme as well. So it's almost like really kind of taking everything that he is and his teachings and really molding it into your own space. And that's it's crazy because when I realized that, I was like, oh my days, like I wish I kind of like clocked this a bit earlier, but obviously there's a time for everything. Um, and I'm not saying that I've figured everything out yet. I'm still in that process. I'm still in that journey. But for me, that once that I realized that, I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna do what I love and really copy and paste what I've seen and observed and really apply that to what I love and enjoy. And in line with that, those principles of helping people still always stands in that same space. Um, and yeah, it's like it's been an interesting journey, and it's so crazy because I tend to see that now that I realize that I look at certain athletes, obviously this is beyond the athlete. I look at certain athletes and I see those sort of principles in their lives as well, in terms of how they manage certain things, especially the top athletes, not just any athlete. I'm talking about the top, the greatest, how they carry themselves and how their perspective is completely different from everyone else. Like I always like that story of Kobe Bryant where rather than him training doing 2 a days and waking up at like what do you mean? Waking up at like nine a.m. and training from 9 a.m. to 11 and then go home, have lunch, sleep, and then come back again free to this time and then having a game at 7. But then what he did is that he maximized his productivity by waking up a lot earlier in the day and then going through a lot more workouts throughout the day. So by the time he reaches like a year, 2 years, he's ahead of the competition. So everyone's pretty much playing catch up with him. Um, and it's so weird, yeah. And I was saying this to some of my guys as well. Um, I love animes, and one of my favorite animes is Naruto, and I realized the same sort of principle in that anime where Naruto would train to learn a new power or skill. What would have taken his predecessors who were super great, what would have taken them about maybe like 3 years, 4 years, took him about 72 hours. And how he did that is that um he maximized his time and his productivity by um developing a really strong skill, which is creating multiple clones of himself. And those multiple clones will go through the same process that he's going through, same training that he's going through. So if he has like 100 clones, they go through the same training that he's going through. And every single experience those clones experience feeds back to the original Naruto, which means that he learns things quicker. And I was like, that's crazy. Um, so it also shows the power of community. That kind of also showed me another side of the power of community, or the power of like people actually working together for common cause, um, and how impactful that can be if everyone was a bit more selfless and work together to actually fulfill or achieve a specific goal. So yeah, that's yeah, like those two things, learning like basketball and that anime, kind of taught me quite a few things and made me understand certain things that I've been learning. Um, in terms of community, in terms of being able to maximize productivity as well, and also what it means to be great. To an extent, that's not the only thing that's taught me what it means to be great. But to an extent, that process towards that greatness and how much work and you need to put in and how not cheap greatness is. And I'm still in that process of learning. I'm still in that process of understanding a bit more of what it means to be great. But that feeling is still inside me. It's never left me. Um, and actually, I'm going to share this as well. Like, just even looking at Pastobi himself and like seeing what he does for the world, and seeing exactly how the world could actually kind of like ridicule him and say negative things about him, but really and truly, they don't realize that all they're doing is just feeding the actual like, if for me to say this, that beast that wants to just really like just do a madness in the world and like literally just save everyone and make sure everyone is good. Like that how can I put it now? Um I'm trying to find the right word. Yeah, like they don't realize that it's not going to stop him. It's just going to make him even go even harder. And people don't realize that and realize that, listen, like as much as you're hearing a lot of these things and you see him and all of us still like pushing even harder, still doing a madness in this world. Like, why don't you just come over and just actually kind of see what it means to be great? Um, and it's also crazy that people aren't aware that a lot of the greats in the world that's ever lived in this world were ridiculed. Like they were spoken negatively about, but they don't understand those words are what makes that greatness stronger. It just feeds into that greatness and it just makes that greatness bigger. Um, and for me, I look at that in admiration, but also looking at that and okay, cool. Like, how can I also make sure that I'm playing my part to achieve that greatness, not just for myself, but for those around me as well. Um, and yeah, like that's the process I'm at now. It's still happening, it's still going for me. And I'm seeing the different things changing over time from obviously just being consistent and just really kind of knowing that I'm fulfilling what I need to be fulfilling per time, not understanding that it's not going to happen overnight, but I have to go through that process and keep working nonstop, not resting, not relenting. Um, and yeah, like, and it even takes me back to obviously this podcast, like with this sort of guests that are coming up now. That that's for me, like I'm not even just contacting them like last minute or I've just emailed them yesterday. Some of them I've been contacting since 2023. And only maybe today or the last few weeks that they've got back to me. But because I've just stayed on them, been persistent and not giving up and not thinking, oh, they don't want to speak to me, it's fine. Like, I'm just going to leave it. But really kind of pushing and showing that, okay, they might not want to speak to me now. Let me keep going and do what I'm doing. But I'm still going to make sure that I have this person on the podcast. I'm still going to make sure that this money is going to be raised for this vision that we're building or this event or this project or for this person as well. And that's just been my mindset since, and that's just been my thoughts. That yeah, man, non-stop relentless, not non-stop perseverance. Um, not really chasing greatness, not really being perfect, but being consistent, but understanding there's greatness in myself, and I'm gonna continue to feed that greatness to grow, not just for me, but for people that are actually gonna be engaging with me throughout my journey, and for the family that I'm part of, the community I'm part of as well. For us to get to the vision that's been set out for all of us to achieve. Um, but yeah, that's just me. Um, and yeah, it's been an exciting journey. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that that you want to send us, my email is down below, our email's down below, or you can just comment in the comment section. Um, but yeah, that's my side. And coming up actually for I would say the podcast and everything that we do within sports. Like we have some amazing guests, international guests that be coming on. Some of them you might know, you might not know, but I think all of them you will know. And those guests are actually going to get us, going to really give us some insight into the sports space a bit deeper than we actually have been able to explore. Um, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm sure you guys will really be happy with who they are. Um, and then leading on to that, I know this year we're going to be doing so many amazing things. We do want to release our sneaker as well, a basketball sneaker. Our first, I would say the first ever being done in the UK. Someone can correct me for that. So that's something that we want to achieve. We wanted to achieve this 2 years ago, but I think this is the year where we actually will release it, especially towards our major basketball tournament in London this summer. More details will be out for that. And this is on the Basketball Nation side. But then on the global sports side, we will be having quite a lot of events this year, really engaging with the community, not just in London, but also in Europe as well. But I'm really excited about what this year is going to bring. And yeah, like I'm also excited about speaking more on this podcast, and engaging with you guys more. And I think the next time I am on here will be based around certain topics, certain questions from you guys. Maybe I've spoken a bit more. Maybe I've spoken enough about myself now. Let me speak about something within sports. And yeah, and I'll still keep adding a few things about myself, obviously, my journey and my thoughts as well. But there is one thing I do want to mention, and I know it's been a bit late, but that Luka Doncic and LeBron James duo right now, and with the Lakers, yeah, man, like all the doubters, I feel sorry for you because those guys are gonna do a madness. And I said it before, let Luka be Luka and let LeBron just be free. No less burdens from being able to control the ball and just do his thing. But yeah, sports is amazing, man. Sports is amazing. It's really helped me to understand quite a lot of stuff. Um, and I'm looking forward to learning more and more. I'm a student of the game. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of PT, first and foremost. And I'm looking forward to learning more. Hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. This is just me, um, free and open with you guys. Even if I'm not looking at directly at the camera, this is just us having a conversation. Like you'll be in my home. I'm actually at home. So this is just us having a conversation. But yeah, um, it's been a pleasure speaking to you guys, and yeah, hope to see you guys and speak to you guys again in the next episode with myself on or with my guest. But please do engage. I do want to hear from you guys, and yeah, take care. Good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Coach David out. Peace.